Welcome to the Combat Files. Today we begin our look at the single largest conflict in human history, Operation Barbarossa. If you find this history as fascinating as we do, and want to see how this colossal gamble unfolds, consider subscribing for Part 2. The Nazi-Soviet border was the quiet of a coiled spring. At dawn, Germans, Romanians, Hungarians, Finns, all under the Axis banner, advanced. Leading the assault, the Panzerwaffe that conquered Western Europe roared east. The Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact was instantly worthless. Operation Barbarossa, named for Emperor Frederick Barbarossa, was Hitler's quest to fulfill a perceived German destiny. Its scale and ambition eclipsed anything before, mobilizing millions across a front stretching more than 1,600 kilometers. For decades, strategists warned against a two-front war. Confident after swift victories, Hitler ignored them. This was his ideological endgame, an apocalyptic crusade to forge a vast empire. He sanctioned atrocities without limit. The Eastern Front would consume more resources and lives than all other World War II theaters combined. Germany needed a lightning victory. For the Soviet Union, Barbarossa became a desperate fight for survival. This was not mere territorial conquest. It was a brutal struggle over Ukraine's grain, the Caucasus oil, and the fate of millions. At its heart lay Hitler's racism and anti-communism fused into genocide. He labeled Bolshevism a Jewish conspiracy, vowing to exterminate commissars on sight. Propaganda dehumanized Soviet soldiers and civilians alike, casting the campaign not as a soldiers' war, but as extermination. Stalin, ever pragmatic, saw the pact as a shield, buying time to rebuild his purged officer corps. Secret protocols pushed Soviet borders westward. Hitler, the ideologue, saw a tool to secure his flank. But the non-aggression treaty was a ticking clock for Stalin's survival. With France defeated and Britain isolated, Hitler turned east. Meticulous planning gave way to extreme arrogance. The Wehrmacht backed a Blitzkrieg of unparalleled scale. Speed, surprise, encirclement. German generals underestimated Russia's vast distances, muddy roads, and the Soviet capacity to mobilize millions. Warnings from Richard Sorge in Tokyo and Winston Churchill reached Stalin. Paranoid, he dismissed them as British plots, refusing high alert. The result? The Red Army was a sitting duck. In 48 hours, Soviet air power was annihilated and frontline divisions dissolved into chaos. The pace was breathtaking. On day one, some panzer units raced over 50 kilometers. Massive pockets, kettles, boiled Soviet forces alive. In Minsk alone, 300,000 soldiers were captured. The Kiev encirclement became the largest in military history, and most of those prisoners would never see freedom again. To Berlin and the troops, Barbarossa seemed an overwhelming success. Soldiers tasted victory as snow melted on the guns. The golden domes of the Kremlin loomed on the horizon. It looked as if Hitler's gamble had paid off, until they met General Mud and General Winter. Subscribe and hit the bell so you won't miss Part 2 today. We bring history to life now, always. Hitler's lightning war bogged down in the autumn mud and froze in the winter snow. The gamble was failing. Join us for Part 2, where we explore the desperate Battle of Moscow and the turning of the tide on the Eastern Front. Thanks for watching.